I've hit the record button, and we'll get it.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Deck Doctor here on the channel. Today I've got Cutie Pack here with me, and we're doing a stain list. Stain under evil. Stain under evil. Oh, everything's messing up terribly. Oh, pause champ. This. That worked. There you go. All right, so we got a stain deck under evil. Yeah. So, for anybody who doesn't know, basically what a deck doctor is Key's gonna help me with the elevator pitch for this really awesome stain deck, and then we're gonna go through and we're gonna polish it and make it as awesome as we can. So, with that said, man, go ahead and drop into what's going on with stain. First off, let's talk about the name. Stain isn't evil?
Yeah.
Question mark.
I don't think he's necessarily evil. I think he just has a different view of the world than everyone else, and because of that, people are like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, no, he's got some points. A lot of people who just in it for the popularity, for the money. It's like
Right.
doesn't make sense for that. They're heroes.
Huh. Well, I'm sure we could get way more into that, but what's going on? What's going on with the deck then?
So, evil symbol hasn't had a lot of crap first set because there was like no low blocks, and in my deck I'm still running not a lot of low blocks.
Right.
But the whole point of my deck is that I want to find a way to deal that like 1-2 damage on the first attack turn, just so it stays online, and then slowly chip away at everything. So like for the attack lineup, I'm running a lot of extra pain, right? So I'm running the drop kicks. I'm only running 2 because I only have 2, but they're both XSRs, so I think that's
Tight.
I think that's not too bad.
We'd love to hear it.
I've got the turn to dusts in there just because it's a guarantee damage, even if I'm hurting myself a little bit. And I'm just trying to continuously chip away until they can't survive.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
does make sense. That does make sense. So the very first thing that I have to say about the list is it's interesting that you're playing Sinister Paralyzation. What's going on? What's going on with that guy? Sell me on it.
So I was actually messing around with the deck today, and I took it to locals. I got second place overall, and I lost to Todoroki too because I couldn't find enough ways to shut down my opponent's foundations.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept finding ways to like give me minus damage, so my small attacks got even smaller. And I'm
Right.
like, well, if that's the case, and I don't have, say, like an apathetic up, I can use like a sinister paralyzation. But I've noticed it's more of like an aggressive card, right? So it wants to work well with a flow card like Wire Arrow.
Right.
But I wasn't too sure, so it's out of one of right now in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something I'm like completely sold on. It's something that I'm still messing around with.
Fair. Slashing Whirlwind, we're fans. Nice Slice, we're fans. Rough Kick Slicer, obviously. This card's sweet. Turn to Dust is good. Tongue Whip is meta-defining. Attack-wise, I don't see very much that you're missing. Sans 2x Wire Arrow. I think this is like kind of the outlier that I'm seeing inside of the deck. What's going on with this guy?
So for me, it was either 2x Wire Arrows or 2x of the I forget what it's called, like the stun weapon thing.
Right.
Where it's like if you block with this, you can remove it, reduce something speed to 1, and it's got stun too.
Okay.
But the reason I'm running Wire Arrow is
Net
because
Gun
that's
Surprise.
a net gun surprise. Yeah. Reason I'm running Wire Arrow though is because the net gun, if I'm running just solely off of Stain, can only get up to a 4 speed. So it's a bad attack with stun 2. At most, it's going to get a card out of their hand. At least it's going to deal 4 damage.
Right.
And I'm like, I'd prefer to stack my deck with Wire Arrow.
Right.
So I can do like first attack, Wire Arrow, stack the deck, Slashing Whirlwind, only have to commit 1.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the refresh button, and we'll chat about all these cards that I've added to our sideboard.
Boy.
So, first and foremost, a box full of babies. I think this card is absolutely amazing inside of this deck, specifically with Wire Arrow, because it does 2 things. Number 1, it lets you have an extra card to stack on top of your deck, right? Because currently the only text that we have are Wire Arrow itself, which is really cool with Excited for Blood, or we have Zoom. right? And so just like an extra asset to be able to make stuff happen. Second, it gives the things speed, which we really care about as Stain, because we got to make that first one at least pop through. Fair?
Yeah.
And then
I
third,
totally get you.
it is an asset, so we can just windmill slam it into our momentum, and so now our slashing whirlwinds, our turn to dusts, are live to then use that momentum to then continue to play the game, right? Like
So
playing wire arrow, using the box, discard a card, draw a card, commit for 1/1, give one with stain, snap it to our momentum, then play hit them, stack a zoom, play turn to dust, and now it's a 6 high for 5 at bare minimum. Like, feels great.
yeah. So my one thing with it is because I was running 4 before. The reason I'm running 0 now is because if I'm seeing it in my starting hand, it's basically a 3 check, right? Because I personally, for me, I'm always going to respect the 1 because for the first time ever today, I didn't. I'm like, I'm playing against Tokiyami. I have to get a little greedy. I'm going to play a hero killer going first, and I check the only 1 and check in my deck. And I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep. It
oh,
happens
the
every
first
time.
time ever.
As soon as you
First
disrespect the
time
one
ever, and I was
check.
like, I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so to me, Box Full of Babies is like a 3 check in my opening hand. I don't want to play it because that's 1 less foundation that I'm getting like maybe 2.
That is
Depends on
fair.
if I'm checking the 1 or not.
That is
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. I think a 2
Um,
of is totally fine. I think it's totally good. But I mean,
yeah.
it's your deck. We don't have to put anything in there that we don't want to. You already talked about Net Gun Surprise, and it was another card that I put in here. This card's stellar on defense, and essentially it's just like it's a fun way to like block and then do cool stuff. It's great. Floating around my babies.
I mean, that was
Go ahead.
the neck gun surprise I played against you on online on tabletop. I was fully committed because of your like everything's done.
Right.
I still got to block with the neck gun. I still got to block with my next card because it was like it's a cheap block that makes my next block cheap.
100%.
Yeah.
Floating around my babies is another tech card to stack with Wire Arrow, and it also stacks up damage really, really free. I think that this deck is not going to cycle, and if it does, you'll probably just lose anyways. Like, you can't go that long in a game, and so just removing those cards out of your hand is great. And the big thing is it's another 0 diff, so that when we do play our Dropkick Slicer, we're allowed to try and build out further.
Sure.
Challenging.
No, I totally agree.
Challenging the fakes. This isn't in your deck. Any particular reason why? Was it just room or?
Mostly because of locals. My locals are playing like there's a bunch of people playing stuff like Tetsu Tetsu or All Might 3.
Okay.
And I'm sitting here like I'm giving -1 to this 8 damage that I don't want to block.
Right.
Do I really want to keep playing this card?
That is fair.
And then the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, it sort of gives redundancy to Stain, but it also is a 4 diff on the block, and it does one thing really well, mind you, but it does one thing.
Yeah.
And if someone's playing like a face shield deck and they drop the throw attack, it's like, well, if I minus the damage, they're guaranteeing get back a block that'll stop anything I throw at them.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think this card's cracked. I think this card's really, really good. I think it makes a lot of decks really, really potent. But if it's a local's choice, I think that's totally fine, right? Like, challenging the fakes combined with super rejuvenation is like borderline unfair. With the interactions that they use together.
Well, I'm looking to upgrade more towards a competitive standard rather than locals too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
So
might have to think about that.
yeah, we can talk about it just a smidge. Facepalm takedown. I brought this in because like it's a throw. It's an evil throw, which instantly gets Stain online. Yeah, we don't get to give the stats, but it says that the response is now available. My personal opinion is I think if you are going to play Stain, I think you have to play the throws if you're going to play the evil symbol, right? I think this card is better than, like, Knife Slice. I think it's better than Sinister. I think it's better than, honestly, Wire Arrow. And that is not just this card, but the other throws as well.
So I just out of curiosity, why Facepalm takedown over the invincible clasp price card?
It was one or the other. I think I just, like, stuck one
Yeah.
in because it's a evil throw. That's not what this deck is doing, right? Like, you're really on the weapon package, which I don't want to mess with that if that's the case, right? But I think that, like, the next version of Stain that you do, keep in mind that he now has access to evil throws, which is going to change his game plan very, very much, right? Same thing under all. We now have all throws, which is like going to change his what he's doing. Up
Okay.
next, oh, the last thing I had was Double Blade Slash. If you find that Wire Arrow's not doing enough work, this card is so good also at turning on Stain, being a
Yeah.
stun 1, 6 speed, 7 speed with the -1 health. If blocked, 3 damage move. This card just isn't blocked, which means that it just turns on our character because it's a 7 mid
We'll
for
see.
3
My
with that
issue with
same
it
1
though
high
is that
block.
I. Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
my issue with it though that is that again in my locals, people kept playing those like big damage reducers, like the one in Tokoyami that says if you have an ally in your card pool, this attack gets -3 damage.
Right.
There was the Tetsu 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 with Manly Friendship. It's like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
what do I do now? This is another 0 damage move.
Right.
It's just too easy to stop me from dealing damage with it.
Very much so. Yeah. I completely totally agree. Yeah, Tetsu is gonna be all over the place when it comes to like negating 1 attack per turn.
Yeah,
I did not realize
it's
quite how
actually
strong that was when I fought against the Shigaraki and he like played 4 moves and I only had to block 3 of them. So like that felt great.
um, like I actually traded out the double blade slashes like almost immediately after leaving for ton whips because like the farther into late game it goes, ton whip just gets better and better.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Onto the foundations. The biggest
yeah,
thing that I'm seeing that we don't have in here are things like sticky balls and creepy realization as that bonus DR or honestly that bonus damage pump, which like might be enough to like stop that stuff. But sticky balls is risky on a 3 diff, right? Because we are playing Dropkick Slicer and we're already playing triple excited for blood. Because drawing
yeah.
cards is cool. But then creepy I think is like a 2 of probably somewhere, whether it be in the side or the main. I think this card is
Yeah.
very good. And then lastly, I
All right.
think like here's the big tech for the evil symbol stain is I think that not only do we get floating to increase that damage, but we also get stronger in darkness. So after I use the response on my turn to cancel one of their blocks, all of my moves are just going to hit harder. It's another 0 diff that we get to jam. And it says that like all of these just have the bonus damage because my character is committed.
So I completely agree with everything you're saying. My only counter argument to stronger because I like to argue both sides of everything.
Yeah.
Is with stronger darkness you get +1 on maybe 2 attacks.
Right.
They try to block the first and the second one you're like, no, I don't want it there. I have 1 or 2 more attacks because I'm a 6 hand size character who can't re-ready my foundations,
Sure.
and I'm not gonna have a lot to begin with, right? So it's
Right.
maybe 1 or 2 attacks ever. I'm gonna get it on every turn,
That
and that's
is
only if I'm not playing defensively.
totally fair. You're playing Dropkick Slicer. You're not a 6-hander.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I'm probably like a 5, like a 6.5 hand size with dropkick,
Every time that
but
I've
I'm
ever
playing a
used this card,
55 card deck.
I've
Yeah,
ripped 2 attacks off the top.
I don't know
Every
how you
single
do that.
time. Um,
Every time I rip dropkick slicer, I always get like 1 maybe,
yeah.
and then I'll rip like 2 to 3 foundations, and I'm like, well, this just sucks.
Maybe we should play more attacks in our deck. Right? 18 and 55 like seems like it seems very
Yeah.
close to theory.
Mhm.
I know that is theory, right? But like maybe we play more, right? Maybe
Mhm.
we toss an extra wire arrow. Maybe we toss an extra slashing, right? Or an extra nice slice because it's just like fast. It hits hard. Um,
Sure.
just to swing more.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
honestly, we just slam the net gun surprise in on top, and it's a 19 attack deck.
Yeah.
Because like even
No,
picking up net
I'm
gun
totally
surprise
down.
is tight, right? It's a 4 mid for 4 is
Yeah.
done too. That's great
Yeah.
stats.
I'm totally down. Love big decks.
Yeah.
The more I've played My Hero, the more I'm like, 60 card decks aren't actually too bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, I think this is
Mhm.
just an option if you're like wanting to like go a little harder on the aggro side. It's like my character's committed. Let's just swing.
Yeah, I
Um,
think with the what is it, 19 zero checks already. I don't necessarily need more, which is why I was avoiding floating around my babies because it's also 4 diff on blocks.
mm-hmm.
I think it's 19 zero checks anyways. It's
15.
15. Uh, sorry, yeah, I was counting the fruits of our labor too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I'll be honest. And honestly, I too, I wanted to get your 2 cents on this. I don't understand why you like fruits of our labor so much because I've played it almost every game, but I've never actually used its either effect.
Huh. You're not
So
playing against
I'm wondering.
water or void decks.
No, never.
Yeah. Every water or void deck in set 2 is going to go to deadlock. Every single one. And so just like stripping a card out of their hand is like so potent. And then lastly, like imagine how good your blocking is going to be versus double tongue whip whenever you just fruits your label the second one. Like we just don't eat it.
Yeah.
Those 2 cards are gone. This is actually just a 4 div. It's a 4 damage move. I don't care. I've
Yeah.
this one card removing has stopped your tongue whip and your creepy realizations. They're just done. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely no water players. Like people who typically top over there are playing like the chaos symbol or the May on life. I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, it doesn't do a lot against those characters because like I don't want to remove I don't want to remove. I want to be able to like keep on committing to block more.
Well, even May under
Because
life
I'm only blocking one or two.
should be building close to deadlock, right? That's a character that wants to
Close
like.
to, but not quite.
Okay.
He's very cautious about deadlock just because I have so much punishment in there.
Well, I mean, then it's doing its job,
Um,
right? Like even
I
if
assume,
even
yeah,
if it's just the threat of deadlock, like forcing your opponent to like slow the game down, and like you're able to progress your board state, but they can't progress theirs. Like the card's doing its job, right? Just because it's not activated doesn't mean that like it's not useful. I think this card's
but
rad.
then
I think
you
it's
can,
I think it's a 2 of in every deck, and you probably sideboard a third.
yeah,
Just because like it like this combined with Hero Killer inside of your deck says that they just can't go to deadlock. It's just not possible. They're not allowed to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Now as for the low block situation,
Mhm.
I think I'm only running 15, 16 low blocks, and
Yeah,
I
you're good.
was really trying to figure out. Okay,
Yeah.
15, 16, fine.
15, 16 is totally fine. We got stats, yeah. 15. We might
Okay.
have too many high blocks. I think we might need to push our mid block number up a little bit. But like the mid blocks that I'm suggesting are things like Clever Distraction for minus speed, Creepy, but it's a 4 check. I think Sticky Balls is still great.
Yeah, neck gun.
Net Gun, yeah, but I think we've already tossed that in, question mark? Yeah, I've already tossed it in. So
Okay.
technically this number is slightly different. I also think Nervous Habit's like really important in your deck.
I
So,
really
like,
love it.
I want to push this number up, right?
Mhm.
Like, and how often is
Yeah,
like
no,
Super
I totally get
Rejuvenation getting you there? Right? Like, if you had to have you
that.
had to cut Super or Apathetic? Like, if you had to cut one of these, which one would it be?
Probably the super.
Okay,
Just because like I put in the sinister paralyzation to deal with foundations more. I
right.
don't want to be getting rid of apathetic, which is dealing with foundations.
Love it. All right, so I'm gonna cut Super, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
put Nervous Habit up to a 3 of, and then I'm gonna
love
find
it.
one more mid block here to go up. Actually, you have a single mid block on your foundations. All of these are all high blocks. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
What the
See,
heck?
evil gaze for the actions.
High, 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 high. Oof. Let's take Hero
Yeah.
Killer down to a 3 of, I think.
All right.
Keen will come down to a 3 of. Desperate will come down to a 3 of. And then let's see what we got going on. 19, that's a much cleaner number. Okay. Okay. So we are gonna put floating back in at a 2 of because I did end up cutting 2 zeros, right? And
Yeah.
having this just swim a slam it on your board, and if you happen to need it, it's going to be worth it. I promise. In addition to that, we're also going to toss in 3 Clever Distraction in order to
Okay.
get this number back up, because it's going to say, yeah, this is looking way cleaner. This is so that like this is a useful block. Not to mention like floating plus Clever plus Evil Gaze or Neck on Surprise, right? Neck on Surprise into floating, like you
Yeah.
blocked it, right? Like you're big chillin'. Floating plus surviving, you're fine. You're good. Yeah.
So just to get your thoughts on
57.
this,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about playing plus ultras and set 2 characters solely for the block?
I think it's fine I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything to write home about. I think it really is like what is your deck afraid of? If your deck is afraid of like Ochako 2, right? Then you should like not push. Then you should play those things. But like I think your character beats Ochako 2 as long as you can land a hit, right? If you go first and you can land a hit, I think you're gonna beat that character. I don't think that there's anything they can do. The issue is you just gotta be good at dice rolling. But then like you've got Evil Gaze, and then you've got
Evil
things,
gaze, apathetic. I've got the
yeah,
hero killer.
right. Like
Um,
You have plenty of
Possible. I
speed
was
hate to stop.
yeah.
Just going to net gun surprise like murders that character, right?
Cool.
You evil gaze,
Yeah.
block with net gun, tap out, and be like, yo, I get to block the next one too. Oh, when you go second, like feels great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. What are you thinking about the Sinister Paralyzation in the deck?
I don't love it. I don't love it
Yeah.
because we're playing the one check. I think you have to pick, right? I think a character like all Jiro gets away with this because they get to like use Zoom and their character card in order to stack the top cards of their deck. But if you are
Yeah.
worried about onboard answers to your character, then like this is one of the best answers. The other
Okay.
thing that we could do is maybe play the other card that says if you've played an action this turn, CO1. I think that's how it works. Or it might just be an enhanced CO1, and then if you've played an action, they discard a card. The Aizawa copy card, his ultra rare, the combo card,
Oh, forget that one. Is it the,
binding cloth capture. I can go look it up, real fast.
does he have evil?
It does
I don't think he
not,
has
but
evil, though.
it's under all.
Oh, it's under all. Okay.
Yeah.
So would you put in a third dropkick slicer or just take out Sinister altogether?
I would probably just put in the third dropkick slicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put in the third slicer, take out the Sinister, right? Because like we've got double apathetic and evil gaze in order to mess around with my opponent's foundations, right? And like punish them that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he just absolutely kills 5-handers. Just
Yeah.
if they play 1 or 2 attacks and I'm flipping over 3 of their foundations.
True.
They're not gonna be happy with me.
That is true.
Yeah. So what are you thinking about Blood Curdle too?
Blood Curdle. Oh, this
Because
card's
that
great.
was
This card's gonna be a one
yeah.
of as soon as you get it in your main board.
I already have one.
Sick.
I was
put it in.
considering I was considering Sideboard just because it's like not every character needs to be committed. Like all my 3 what's his name? Tokoyami too.
Yeah, I think this card's just like too good.
Those
I think this card's so good. I think there are more characters that don't want to be committed than there are characters that want to be committed.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, like imagine you go into the mirror match, right? And like the first thing you do is Blood Curdle. They just like you commit and then like you get to play the game. You just get like this is your main disruption piece and it's just committed on a trap that happened inside your hand. It's like boop, oh, gotcha. Crazy good. Crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really missing it today when everyone brought an air deck and I'm like
Yeah.
no.
Right.
I really should have put that in.
Man. Really want to get rid of one more high block. How do you feel about triple
high
excited for
blocks were
blood?
an
How would you feel about just double? Is double acceptable?
I think if I played 2, I want to add in another 3 high blocks, like an aiming for number 1 or sticky balls. Just because I like having 3 to 4 3 diffs, even with like the 1 check is on turn 2. I'm still gonna build it no matter what.
Huh. Okay.
And
Well,
I think there's
if that's
3
the
to 4
case,
like
then we'll just put the
yeah
excited back. Because it's the best option under the evil symbol,
yeah.
right? It's either that or sticky balls. But those are the 2 options.
Well, I'm just always like there's so many good 3 diffs for evil. I want to play all of them, but I have to limit myself, right? So for now, I'm just playing the excited for bloods and then citing out the aiming for number 1.
Right.
But I'm pretty married to excited for blood, and I'm thinking about adding a 4th.
Okay.
Just because every game I've played it, I've either won or I was 1 damage away from winning.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Because even that plus, yeah, I know you took it out, but that plus super regen was just like saying my 29 health character just bumped up to a 30, 35, etc.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we would still be playing Regen if we weren't playing Slicer. We've just like our high block slots have been taken up with things like Keen Observation, because like we have to play this card. We have to play Desperate Times. We have to play Survivor the Final, right? And like these are 0 diff high blocks that just take up this slot. Let's just double check. We're at 58 cards. Okay, so then here's what I want to do. You ready? So we're at 58 cards. I want to add in one more attack to make it 20 attacks in 59 because that's theory.
Yeah.
So either another slashing or another knife slice or something, just so we can try and draw a little bit more gas. It's either that
Um,
or take the blood curdle back out of main board. I think either of those is totally fine options.
okay, hear me out. What if we took out the sinister paralyzation and added in a wire arrow and a slashing? Just because if we're adding in the what are they called? Box full of babies, it gets there just that one step faster, right?
One more slashing, you said?
Yeah.
Uh, sure, but we're not adding in the box. The box is still over here.
Oh boy, I completely saw the wrong card then.
Yeah. So like
Um,
we are back. I mean, we're at 59 with the 20 attacks, which is the number we wanted, right? We could also just take wire arrow back down to the 2 of and feel fine with slashing at the 4. It's a 4 diff 6 for 5, right? Like all by its lonesome, 1 mid block. Like that's great. That's more stats than this, and this is on a 4 diff. Like this thing's statted out of its mind in our character.
yeah.
Not to mention any
Would
sort
you
of
ever play more
pump.
than one net gun surprise?
No.
No.
No, it's for the same reason. Like it's essentially our breaker 2 block, right? Like it's the thing that's going to stop my opponent from playing their next move. They're not going to overcommit out for it, but they just aren't going to play it. Net gun surprise that I get to pretend that we've hit them, right? We've done at least the 1 damage, right? They play a move, I block it, I full block with net gun surprise. Now they get to sit and they get to look at both net gun surprise putting the speed of an attack to 1, as well as Stain saying the next check gets -3. So essentially the next 2 moves that they have just don't do anything. They just don't exist. Right? Which
Okay, I
is
never actually thought about that way.
thing that we don't have under his other 2 symbols that we don't have under the order symbol. We do technically have it under all, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, yo, you play another move. If I don't want to deal with it, I'll -3 the check. All right, commit out for it. I break or 3 you on this one. Okay, you do decide to pass it. I'll respond and I'll net gun surprise. I'll block it for free. Was it worth it? Was it worth the commit 3? The answer is probably no. This is such a end your turn. I want to play the game card, and then it's still a 4 mid for 4 stun 2, right? There are so many cards that wish they were a 4 mid for 4 stun 2 that were like sick on block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, I do like it. It was one of in my deck before, and I'm like, I never actually played it. I'm like, this is in my hand. This is in my hand. 4 turns later, it's still in my hand because I'm playing like my 3 other attacks that are really good, and I'm waiting for my opponent to, drop a mid block or drop a mid attack or play something that I'm like, I know you're gonna bring it up with like the Texas Smash or something.
The answer
And it
there,
just never happened.
review it.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, get rid of it. Right? It's an action.
Yeah.
Just like, yo, if I've got this evil gaze or this blood curdle that's not doing its job, then pitch it. Get rid of it. It doesn't. There are more cards in your deck to do more cool things. No. All right, man. Anything in here that you vehemently disagree with that you just absolutely can't stand?
I don't think so. I think I got to do a little bit more playtesting too.
Okay.
Because the turn 2, turn 3 slashing whirlwind with wire arrow and the 4 box full of babies is like really I like fast decks. I like decks that can like deal an insane amount really quickly.
Yeah.
So I might be playtesting with that a little bit.
Yeah. The question is, do you still play Slicer? That's the only question you
Yeah.
have. That card lets you turbo this combo, right?
Oh, it gets me there so fast. My worry though is that I've got two that are XSRs, like I said.
Yeah.
And I know there's still 4 more floating around in my play group. I don't know if I want to get rid of them because I traded someone a first edition. Oh God, what was it? A first edition Frigid Heatwave, a first edition XR Frigid Heatwave, plus like 10 other cards because it's just that expensive.
Wowzers.
Yeah. But knowing me, I like to bling out stuff. I pulled the XR Stain, I pulled the XSR Dropkick, and I think I pulled 2 or 3. I don't remember. It was either 2 or 3 Excited for Bloods, and I'm like, oh, I'm building Stain.
That's tight.
This is happening. Yeah.
I love that.
I love blinging at decks too. Yeah.
All right, man. I think this is a good looking deck. I think this is in a much better spot than what we started with, and I think you're gonna find like the big thing is I think your blocks are gonna be a little more well rounded.
Yeah. That was blocks are a big issue I was gonna talk to you about. You've kind of fixed it without even me saying much.
Blocks are one of my sticking points. I really care about your block zones being a little closer to even. Obviously, it's the evil symbol, so the low block's going to be the hardest
Bad.
to recover from. But at this point in set 2, I wouldn't use the word bad. I wouldn't, because I think the cards that you have are quality, truly.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I
Thank you very much.
appreciate you.
I
I'm
appreciate
gonna send you on your way. Thank you for the support over on Patreon.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Catch you
Um,
next time, okay?
I always appreciate you.
All
Yeah, of
right.
course. Thank you.
Peace. And
Peace.